Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Smooth Plays podcast. As you can see, I got my boy Dean back with me after his vacation. We are here. We're gonna be talking about this week 4 matchups coming up in the NFL season. All right, I'm Austin, aka Austin Plays. All right, and then like I said, joined with me is my boy Dean.
Yes, sir. I apologize for the week hiatus, but I'm ready to jump back into these games this week.
Love to hear it, man. Love to hear it. All right, first game on the dock this week. All right, NFC East battle Thursday night, prime time. The Dallas Cowboys looking to respond, gonna be bouncing back potentially, facing off against the New York Giants, who are coming off their first and a pretty big win on the road against the Cleveland Browns.
This one's interesting because it's first division game for both teams. The Cowboys look terrible against the Ravens until the last 8 minutes of the game. Uh, and I mean the Giants, like you said, they got a big win in Cleveland. Danny Dimes, 0-12 on any day that is not Sunday in his career. He hasn't won a Monday night or Thursday night start. So, what do you
Hey,
think about that?
I mean, look, Dean, you know me, right? 0-12, he's got to be due, right? He's due for a win. Like, event does not, you can't just, the streak's got to end at some point, and why not against the struggling Dallas Cowboys team, right? Um, on a serious note, though, I don't know. I'm looking at the spread on this one. It's only a 5.5, or it's set at 5.5, which seems a little high considering everything. Let's say, because I do like uh the Giants to I like their ability to keep it close. Malik Neighbors is a dog. Like
Mhm.
Malik Neighbors is looking like he's going to be a problem for years to come. Uh, and Danny Dimes, we say what we say about Danny Dimes. He has his highs are high, but his lows are real low. So if he can get a consistent quarterback in that room, if they decide to eventually move on from Danny Dimes, like Malik Neighbors potentially could be one of the best receivers in the league, I think.
Matt, I couldn't agree more. He's looked exciting
Yeah.
through the first 3 weeks.
Yeah, and then on the contrary, I mean that Dallas defense just had like since that week 1 game, they've looked like very cheap, bouncer at a club. They just let anybody through that they feel like it. You slip them $20 and they're just letting them in.
The Cowboys cannot stop the run so far,
Yeah.
and I do have Devin Singletary on my fantasy team, so I hope he plays well tonight.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I was looking at his line. I think it was at 62.5 or something, and I do like that line. Um, but looking at this one, I don't know because I do believe in the Dallas Cowboys still. I think that their offense, regardless, is going to be able to produce, and the Giants also don't really have a very good defense, at least numbers wise to start the year, and so. I think this is a game, very easily the Dallas Cowboys can come out with a response and be like, all right, we hear all the chatter and we're going to go out and drop 50. So that is something I very easily could see happening. But I could also see the Giants, putting up points as well. Um, all in all, though, I am going to be taking the Dallas Cowboys. I think money line on this one, just because I don't know if you've seen, but so far through the first 3 weeks, teams that are underdogs by 5.5 points this year, all of them have covered. So take that what you will, right? I still think the Dallas Cowboys win this game.
I like your little note there, but I think this is the time where they don't cover. I think Dallas comes out. Dallas needs not a sense of urgency. It's still very early, but this is a big game for them to win a divisional opponent, and I think they come out and they play well tonight. I think they cover the 5.5 tonight against New York.
All right. And moving on. All right, we got our Sunday matchups. Okay. We got the Eagles facing off against the Tampa Bay Bucks, who I don't know if you watched either of their games last week, but the Bucks, just straight up got outplayed by a Denver Broncos team they definitely should have beat. And then the
Mm-hmm.
Eagles, on the other hand, they came out and actually put up not a lot of points, but at the end of the day, they got the job done
It's
against
a
the
tough
New
place to
Orleans
play
Saints.
in New Orleans.
Yeah. I would say the fact that they held, the New Orleans offense to
That's
12
yeah.
points is impressive. And I think that's something that you definitely can't take away, especially looking at what the New Orleans Saints did the first 2 weeks of the season.
Hmm.
And then, from Tampa's perspective, it's like, all right, I don't know. For watching that game, it just looks honestly like Denver just wanted it more. I think Denver matched up a lot better against us than at least for an offensive standpoint for us. Um, you know, Denver's strength is their pass defense, and the way to beat Denver is going to be on the ground. And we just straight up, we're with Rashad White as our lead back. We're not going to be a running football team.
It's Bucky season. They
Yeah.
got to get
Yeah,
Bucky Irvin out there.
Bucky Irving, I think as the season goes on, you're going to see Bucky Irving get a lot more touches for the Bucks.
Hmm.
Um all that said, right? Looking ahead into week 4, Eagles in Tampa Bay. Um Bucks looking to bounce back. Eagles trying to keep that momentum. They just knocked off one of the best NFC South teams, and they're looking to knock off another top dog in that division. What do you think going into this week 4 matchup?
I think that this is a spot. I mean, this is what they put in the playoffs last year. Or was it 2 years ago?
That was last. Oh, it was last year.
And the Bucks
Yeah,
beat
and
them,
then
right?
it was last
Yeah.
year. Tampa Bay won, and then we lost to Detroit.
Yes. I think the Eagles respond here. I think it's a good game. But overall, Saquon has been incredible to start the season. I don't know AJ Brown's status if he's going to play or not. That will definitely
Yeah,
play a big part.
I also
But
think Devontae Smith might
he got hurt.
he
Yeah.
might not play either. Some people are calling it a cheap shot, and people have their opinions. It was definitely a pretty rough looking hit.
Yeah, it was. But with all that being said, I'm taking Philly. I think Philly's just a better team.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just
Hey, that's fair. I mean, look, a part of me looking at this game from a non-biased standpoint, I do believe that this is an opportunity for Philly to kind of keep with the momentum. Big win on the road, keep it going. But I'm just looking at Tampa Bay. I need a response, and the Philadelphia Eagles, one of the worst teams in the league this year against the pass, right? And I think that this is going to be the opportunity for Baker to get back on track, get back to what he's been doing through the first 2 weeks of the year. Chris Godwin looks like he's going to be kind of the leader receiver for us this year. Um,
Mhm.
Not to say that Mike Evans isn't going to be productive, but Chris Godwin, I think, has definitely taken a big step in this offense and look for him to get involved a lot. I think this is going to be the opportunity for Tampa to bounce back and win this one at home.
All right.
All right, moving on, we got the Denver Broncos, who we just talked about, going on the road against the New York Jets. And then again, like I said, this is another one of those big spreads where the Broncos, after a big win where they dominated, they are 7.5 point underdogs on the road.
That is a massive number considering, I mean, the Jets have looked good, especially against New England, but 7.5 is a lot of points, as we both know in today's NFL, with the
Yeah,
way the season's going.
yeah, yeah. A lot of the games this year, yeah, a lot of these games, man, they're just the teams that we are not expecting a lot from just find ways to go out and show up
Yeah.
when you don't expect them to. But then the following week they go out and it's like, oh yeah, that's why I didn't pick them in the first place.
Yeah.
Um, but I do like Denver. I've been saying I think since week 1 I like Denver. I like Bo Nix. I think Denver has a good defense. I think they're built to kind of stop the strength of this Jets offense, which is going to be the passing game. Um, I think the difference maker is going to come in. Honestly, it's going to come down to the Jets' run game between Brees Hall and Braylon Allen. Who Braylon Allen
Looked great.
looks really, really good. So I hope to see more of him as the season goes on. But yeah, I like Bo Nix, man. I like Denver coming off a big win, and I got Denver in this one. I got them covering 7.5.
Yeah, I mean, it's just too big of a number for me to take New York to cover that. Like you said, I think Brees Hall and Allen can. I mean, that's a great running back tandem the way
Yeah,
Allen has looked because we know how good Brees Hall is,
right.
and I mean, maybe they can stop the passing game of the Jets. I don't know. Yeah, I agree. Let's Denver can keep this one close, I think, but I think New York wins for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I think that the big matchup obviously in that one is going to be watching Pat Surtain. You know, he's going to be shadowing Garrett Wilson all game, so that'll be an exciting matchup to watch there in week 4. All right. And then we got another divisional matchup here, all right? Moving up to the NFC North. All right, Minnesota Vikings, who look red hot to start the year, man. The Vikings look like they're on a mission. They got the guys to get some stuff done this year. They're going into Green Bay though, which is a very tough place to play. What are your thoughts going into this one?
My thoughts on this one is, well, first of all, I think that it's going to be a great game to watch. Let me just say that these are two very good teams. And two, I mean, the way the Vikings have looked, I was high on the Packers to start the year, but the way the Vikings have looked, this can be two contenders in the NFC.
Yeah,
You know how good the
I think
Vikings have
both of
looked.
these teams are legitimate shots right now to, at least make it potentially to that AFC Conference Championship game, based on what we've seen through the rest of the NFC.
But with that being said, if Jordan Love plays, I'm taking Green Bay to cover. I just think Green Bay at home. I know Darnold's looked great. Brian Flores has been awesome for that defense. But I think Jair shadows Jefferson,
Mm-hmm.
which obviously no one's stopping Justin
Yeah,
Jefferson. I'm not saying
you
that.
can only
But
slow a guy,
yeah,
try to slow that guy down. You're
it-
not gonna straight up stop him.
yeah, you're not. But I think if Jordan Love plays, man, the Packers are really good. And also, no disrespect to Malik Willis because he looked great
Yeah, I
against
mean,
Tennessee.
hey, he look at it this way. He's 2-0 as a starter
Yeah,
this year. Like at the end of the day, he's 2-0. Like he went out as a backup quarterback and did his job.
yeah.
So like respect and props to where props are due. Um yeah, I don't know if I know that not Bryce. Um Jordan Love, I know Jordan Love is still listed as questionable right now. There was talks about him potentially coming back next week, which kind of leads me to believe that he is going to be projected to play come this week. Um, all that said, yeah, I think in Lambeau, this is going to be a tough matchup for Minnesota. Despite everything that we've seen from Sam Darnold and this Minnesota team, it's a tough place to play, and the Packers are still a good team, which they've proven even with a subpar quarterback, that they can go out
Hmm.
and still win games. Um, I don't know. I still want to take Minnesota though, because I think of it like, all right, Love is coming back first week off of an injury. Is he going to be able to just kind of kick it right into 100% high gear like he did, like how he did coming into the year? I don't think so. I think Minnesota, they're going to be putting pressure on him and making it hard for him to move the ball. And, again, that ground game is going to kind of where Green Bay's got to lean on with Josh Jacobs. So,
Hey, Aaron Jones revenge game in
Aaron
Green
Jones
Bay.
revenge. Aaron Jones has looked really good this year too.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I think Minnesota on this one, they're 3-point dogs, but yeah, I think Minnesota's winning this one outright.
Hey, I don't hate it. Don't You can't go against a team that's shown nothing but winning so far.
Yeah. All right. Moving on, we got another NFC South matchup here. We got the New Orleans Saints going into hot Atlanta, the Atlanta Falcons. All right. And yeah, the Atlanta Saints, who the first 2 weeks looked unstoppable. Nobody can stop them. And then Philly, they must have found something in through the first 2 weeks to where they could put a stop to it, as the New Orleans Saints only put up 12 points, right? And let's see, Derek Carr looked like the Derek Carr that we all expected to see coming into the year.
Yeah. I mean, the key for the Saints team, in my opinion, is Derek Carr will be great if Kamara is running the ball and they're getting yards on the ground, that leads to the play action stuff, the deep shots to Shaheed,
Yep.
the crossers over the middle, all that stuff. if Kamara, the Eagles took Kamara out of the game, they couldn't run the ball, and that's why their offense struggled.
Yeah,
So if
looking at
Atlanta can stop
Kamara's
the run,
line, Kamara had 26 carries, which is a lot, but it's still only 86 or 87 yards, so 3
mhm,
yards a carry. Not efficient. Only had 89 yards as a team, did the
yeah,
Saints.
if Atlanta can stop the run, Atlanta it can definitely win the game. Don't forget Atlanta's. I mean, they're one Kirk Cousins drive away from being 0-3.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I've liked what I've seen out of Atlanta, despite, them off to a slow start at 1-2.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they the hype going into this year, right? They still have the guys. Um, Justin Simmons, who they acquired in the offseason. He had an interception last week. I love, what's going on in Atlanta as far as like personnel goes. And I
Mm-hmm.
think, as the season goes on, we're gonna kind of see them start to put everything together. Through the first 3 weeks, you're still trying to, fine tune, figure everything out, but how guys work. So and how they work together. So I think, yeah, week 4, this is going to be Atlanta's opportunity to be, putting everything fine tuned on the field and show the world what they can do this year. So I think that week 4 is a good spot for them. They're 2.5 point favorites, and I'm going to take them to cover.
I think them at home against New Orleans. New Orleans don't. They're still a very good team, but I do like Atlanta on the spot 2.5 cover.
All right. And then moving on. All right. The Cincinnati Bengals, who probably have been the biggest disappointment of this season.
For sure.
I don't think it's even close.
I agree.
These guys, they just I know exactly what the issue is too. I'm not gonna say I don't know what's going on because I do. It's the Bengals defense, dude. The Bengals defense have shown time and time again that they are incapable of, if they are in a big spot or even just throughout the longevity of a game, they can't get stops consistently. And when you need them to come up with a big stop, they're not going to get that stop. So
Uh,
I don't know. I don't know what needs to happen. If Joe Burrow just needs to, lock in and put up 50 for them to start winning games, I don't know.
I will say this one's interesting because you got Andy Dalton, who spent his whole career in Cincinnati
Yeah.
and gets a shot, one backup game last week, and he looked great, which I will say, I think this Panthers team as a whole, we all know it's pretty much a dumpster fire in
Hmm.
Carolina, but a veteran quarterback coming in is much more stable than, I think Bryce Young, his confidence in himself is just completely
Yeah,
gone.
it's at an all-time low for sure.
And I just feel for him because I think Bryce Young still has the talent. I think he's good enough. I just think he
He's in
has no
I
confidence
think
in
he's in his
himself.
head. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
and I've seen a lot of that. I've seen, a lot of clips and stuff, just kind of talking about it, and I agree. He just looks rattled when he's on the
yeah,
field all the
he
time.
does.
Like he just has, like you said, has no confidence. Um, all that said, the Bengals, right? They're 0-3. All the hype in the world coming in. They had high expectations going into the year. They're 4.5 point favorites this week. Uh, I think the first, I'm just going to go ahead and say I think they'll cover this week. I think that they finally are going to be able to put a W on the board. But I like last week. I liked what I saw at least out of the offense for Cincinnati. Jamar Chase, going into that week. Um, and prior to, it was all about his contract negotiations, everything that was going on off the field, right? Week 3, he came out and was like, all right, I'm done talking about my contract. I'm just gonna go play ball and focus on the season. And he did exactly that. He went out and performed to the expectation, I think, that we all were looking for. And also, T Higgins is back, so that last week was his first week back in the lineup and getting ramped up. I think that was kind of, him getting his feet wet again, and then now coming into his second week of playing time, I think he'll be a lot more productive this week as well.
Yeah, I think Higgins coming back is I mean, that just opens up everything for Chase because you can't double team. You can't double team and
Yeah,
shadow
you
him if
can't double
Higgins is
both
on
of
the
them.
field. Yeah, exactly. And that's one reason why I think Chase, played well. And like you said, he wasn't, practicing for a while. So
Yeah.
2 weeks coming in after not being at training camp, stuff like that. I think You said the Bengals might have to go out and put up 50 to win, and honestly, if there's a defense they can do it against, it's this one. So I think Cincinnati covers. They can't go 0-4, right,
No,
against Andy
yeah,
Dalton.
this team has too much talent to go 0-4. So
Yes.
yeah, I think the Bengals are a safe pick this week. All right. And then yeah, I mean we're just jumping right into another team that looks just awful to start the year in Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, yeah, Trevor Lawrence. He needs to figure it out. Whether it's him or Doug Peterson, right? The coaching staff, whatever. Trevor Lawrence has not lived up to the hype at all ever since he got to Jacksonville.
Well, I believe he's 0-9 in his last 9 starts.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And
And this is a guy prior to getting into the NFL had never lost a regular season game in his entire
yeah,
football life.
seriously, like watching him at Clemson, all he did, and then even in high school, all he did was win.
Yeah.
And and he has looked rough
Yeah.
through the first 3 weeks, and the Jags as a whole have looked rough. On the other side, though, the Texans have looked great, and then they go into Minnesota and get smacked
Yeah.
by the Vikings.
Yeah. And I think this is just going to be for Houston. This is just going to be their opportunity to just, take that loss to Minnesota on the chin. You got whooped. Take it on the chin, move on to the next, right? How are you going to respond? So I think that Houston, this is going to be a big game for them to show up and respond and potentially win big. But I go back to that 6-point spread, man, and a part of me wants to pick the Jags at least to cover. Despite the horrendous offense that we got at Jacksonville right now, I still believe that Jacksonville's defense has the capability to go out there and get stops or at least slow down this high-powered Houston offense.
I do think that this is a spot for the Jag. Everyone's off the Jags because, I mean, rightfully so, because they got demolished in prime time on Monday night. But divisional games are always tough, right? And a touchdown, 6.5 is a lot of points in the NFL. I think Jacksonville's decided to be on the cover. I think Houston wins the game, but Jacksonville plays well this
Jacksonville
week.
to cover, I think I think that's the play here. All right. Now we got your Pittsburgh Steelers, who I don't know about you. I mean, I do know. Obviously, they're your team, so I'll let you, sing your praises for what they've seen. But I want to sing mine too. They've looked great. Like I think Justin Fields might have found, you know, finally found a spot for him to, call home for a little bit.
I love what they've done with Fields early in the year because a lot of it's been short stuff, like let him see the completions go up. The completion percentage has been high. And last week, a little bit in the second half, they let him throw the ball down the field and they got some explosive plays. I know you mentioned that you'd
Yeah.
like to see some out of them. And Calvin Austin got that big touchdown, but
Yep.
that's not this team's strength. This team has the best defense in the NFL.
Mhm.
And I mean, they have teams are averaging single digits again. 9 points per game right now in the Steelers through 3 weeks. And
Yeah.
with a QB like Anthony Richardson, who has 6 interceptions through 3 weeks, I mean that the Steelers defense is foaming at the mouth for this matchup against the Colts. If they can
Yeah.
stop Jonathan Taylor and stop this run game, I don't think
Yeah.
this game's. I think the
Which
Steelers can win by 10 plus.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. They're only 2-point favorites on this one, which is, yeah, I think the Steelers haven't shown that they struggle against the run yet this year. So
Yeah, they
I
haven't.
think that the Steelers will go out, handle business, and win this one pretty handily. Like you said, I called for at least a explosive play. I just really, I understand, like you were saying, that's not the strength of this team. They're not a big play team. I just needed to be able to see that they are capable of doing it every now and then, which,
Yeah,
I saw that. So that gives me a lot of reason to believe in this Steelers team moving forward. And I got them advancing here to 4-0 against the Indianapolis Colts.
I agree. All Justin Fields has to do is go out there and not turn the ball over. He had
Yeah.
one interception last week that got batted at the line. It happens,
Hmm.
but he's been great at just not turning the ball over. And if that defense can play with a lead, they can compete with anyone.
Yeah. All right. So we're both on the Steelers. And we're both on them taking the spread Yeah, I think they win this one by at least a touchdown.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, and then moving on, we got the Rams going into the Chicago to face the Bears. What do you got on this one?
I mean, this Caleb Williams finally threw his first touchdown pass
Yep,
of his young
about
career.
time, right?
I mean, it was only 2 games without one, but it was nice to see that happen. He actually threw for 363 yards last week.
Yeah,
And I will say he hasn't looked great by any means, but it also doesn't help a rookie QB when you have zero run game. And that's what the Bears have had. They've had absolutely
yeah,
nothing on the ground.
yeah. Very, very disappointing start to the year for DeAndre Swift. I know he was hot coming off of that run in Philly last year.
Hmm.
He was run behind a great offensive line, and then I think now he goes into Chicago where their offensive line is not quite as good, and it's kind of showing a little bit that maybe he was a little bit carried by a Hall of Fame caliber offensive line. But I couldn't agree more that this Bears run game, they got to figure out some way to move the ball efficiently on the ground.
Yeah,
Because at the end of the day, if you're relying on a rookie quarterback, I don't care if it's Caleb Williams, it could be, Patrick Mahomes, it doesn't matter. Like, you can't rely on a quarterback to go out and throw the ball every play and be efficient and be effective because, they're still trying to figure out this league, and just kind of throwing them to the wolves is not gonna. It's just not gonna pan out in the end. So
no, it's not. But then you got the Rams on the other side who are basically what the hospital on offense at this point.
yeah, I mean, yeah, they're still missing Nakua and Cup,
And
which
Cup.
is really their whole offense. If Kyron Williams isn't there. Um, that being said, Kyron Williams did actually have. I'm not high on Kyron Williams. But he did
He had a
have
great
a
game.
pretty efficient game.
3 touchdowns.
So maybe I'm wrong. That being said, I think the Bears had one of the best run defenses in the league last year, and I do think the Bears defense as a whole is a solid unit that is going to give a Rams team that frankly doesn't really have any guys that can break an explosive playoff. I think they're going to give this Rams offense a lot of problems, and this one might be ugly.
I yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more with what you just said. I think that if the Rams can't get the run game going, they just don't have guys who can create separation. Right, we're not without Cup and Nakua. They got Whittington, the rookie. They got Tyler Johnson. They got Tutu Atwell. I mean, nothing against those guys, but that's not wide receiver one and
Yeah,
two.
you don't have a wide receiver one
Yeah,
essentially,
they
and
don't.
teams that don't have a wide receiver one in the NFL, legit wide receiver one, have shown that their offenses are just not reliable. And
Yeah,
they got an older Matt Stafford, so he's gonna struggle to get out the pocket, extend plays. That factor is basically non-existent. And so, yeah, I'm fearful for this Rams offense moving forward, unless they dig
they
deep in
make
their
value. You
bag.
never know.
Yeah, they got to dig deep in their bag, I think, and find a guy that can step up and kind of assume like a wide receiver one role, similar to how Nakua did last year once Cup went down.
I
Um,
agree with you. I
but
think the
yeah,
Bears is the side to be on.
yeah, I think the Bears right now. I think we're both on the Bears this week. Moving on. All right, we talked about that one kind of being a disaster game. But this one I think has got the opportunity to be one of the most explosive games that we see all year between the Washington Commanders and the Arizona Cardinals, because these are two offenses that have nothing but explosive plays loaded up. And these are two defenses, frankly, that I don't see a lot from.
Yeah, I mean, Jaden Daniels versus Kyler Murray. It's going to be a fun one to watch because Daniels has just wowed the NFL in front of
Mm-hmm.
everyone in Cincinnati on Monday night.
Yep.
You also got Marvin Harrison. Should see a lot of points.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's in Arizona, 3.5. I mean, with that off, I know the Commanders didn't punt against the Giants,
Yeah.
and they put up 38 in Cincinnati, so they can score. Um, with that being said, I just like Arizona here a little bit better.
Yeah, I think I do like Arizona a little bit more than being at home. I just gotta believe that this Arizona team, they just have a little bit more experience, and they still have that big playability to kind of go step for step with the Washington Commanders. And if I had to pick a defense, like the Arizona Cardinals, not saying that they're anything special, but that Washington Commanders offense or defense has looked, pretty abysmal, I think, to say the
Yeah,
least. So yeah, I think Arizona, it's just going to come down to they get one or two stops when the Washington defense can't.
hmm
And I'm taking Arizona winning this one. But at a 3.5, a field goal, I might sneak around the corner and take the Washington Commanders here at plus 3.5.
that's fair.
All right. And then moving on, we got the Patriots taking on the Niners, who this is our biggest spread of the year so far.
hmm
The Niners are a 10-point favorite despite all the injuries, everything that, they haven't shown going into the year. A 10-point favorite against a New England Patriots team that just straight up doesn't have the guys.
Yeah, I mean the Patriots got smacked against the Jets on Thursday night, but it's a long week of rest for them. It's an opportunity here. It is in San Francisco, which scares me a little bit for New England because that's a tough place to play going all the way to the West Coast. But the Niners are very injured. Um, with that being said, if it was in New England, I think I'd take New England to cover the 10-point spread, but I just
Mhm.
don't think I know the Niners have injuries. I know they do, but I don't see how the Patriots are going to be able to stop them still.
Yeah.
I don't.
I don't see how the Patriots are going to be able to score. I mean, you can't forget
Yeah.
about how good, the Niners defense is the last couple of years. They've consistently been one of the best defenses in the league. And I think that, yeah, it's just going to be hard for New England to put points up. So I don't think I'd feel comfortable taking them with the spread despite,
No.
being double digit underdogs.
Yeah.
That being said, at a 40.5 point total, I think an under is a very realistic take because yeah, again, it just comes down to the Niners who are injured on offense, the Patriots who are going to struggle to put up points. I think this one ends up being a dogfight in the end and is a real low scoring game. So I like the under on this one, and I like the Niners, I think, just to get the win.
I agree. Niners and the unders a good play as well. I like that.
All right. We got the Browns and the Raiders. All right. Both of these teams, again, I think the Raiders a little bit more so. We didn't expect a whole lot, but then they went out and beat Baltimore in Baltimore. And I was like, okay, maybe there'll be something. And then we get reminded in week 3, oh, yeah, that's why we don't take
That's the
them.
Raiders. And they lose to
That's the
Andy Dalton and
Raiders
the
we know.
Panthers. Uh, on the other side, though, the Browns have looked, I mean, they haven't looked good at all. They lose to the Giants at home. They got demolished by Dallas week one. But, I mean, Cleveland pound for pound is just the better team, right? Like, they have to go in and win. This is a game that you
Yeah.
can't lose if you're Cleveland. You
Yeah.
cannot lose this game.
Yeah, if you fall to 1-3 on this one, if you're Cleveland, you still had playoff aspirations going into the year. If you fall to 1-3, I think the state that this team's in right now, you can throw playoff out the door.
Yeah, I agree. And they're also underdogs in this game against
Yeah.
the Raiders at home. That would be my dog of the week. Like I got to take Cleveland to win outright.
All right. So you like Cleveland as your dog of the week and winning outright, and I'm gonna tail it with you. I do believe that Cleveland steps up, they get the job done this week in Las Vegas. All right. Moving on. All right, we're kind of short on time, so we got to kind of speed this up a little bit. But we got the Chiefs and the Chargers, right? Storyline going into this one. The Chiefs have dominated the Chargers ever since Pat Mahomes arrived, right?
hmm
Um, granted the Chargers have kept it close, but I don't know if Justin Herbert's going to be playing in this one. Frankly, I know he's listed as questionable, coming off of a week 3 injury, but yeah, I think 7-point favorites for the Chiefs. Again, that just it's that point spread. It scares me a little bit just based on what we've seen so far in the throughout the season. I like the Chiefs to win this one. I think they advanced to 4-0, just, extending, that this belief that they're still the team to beat, which they very much have proved that they are.
Yeah, no, I agree. Herbert banged up as well. It gives me no reason to back the Chargers, to be honest with you. If Herbert's out. Heineke's not going to beat the Chiefs. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I'll take the Chiefs in this one.
All right. And we got the Bills and the Ravens. All right. This one, the Ravens, dude, the Ravens, I don't know. This again, kind of similar situation to the Browns. Unfortunately, they got to play the Bills. Where
Yeah,
if the Ravens fall to 1-3, again, this is a team that really, realistically, was Super Bowl aspirations. And at 1-2, going in, if they go 1-3, again, you can throw that out the door. Like, I don't think that the Ravens have been able to put up anything consistently. Mark Andrews has been non-existent, which is, I think, a shock to almost everybody that watches football. And then
hmm
on the contrary, Josh Allen. Josh Allen has proven that it does not matter who you give him as a wide receiver, right? He's going to go out, he's going to make plays, and he's the front runner right now for MVP.
yeah, he looks like an MVP right now. And also, the Bills have scored 30 points in every game this year.
Mm-hmm.
So like it, this hurts for me to do this as a Steeler fan, but I think with the Ravens backed up against the wall, they know this is a big game Sunday night at home. They know they got to win this one. I'm taking the Ravens.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the Ravens are just a little bit too inconsistent, and Josh Allen has, shown that the best version of Josh Allen I think we've seen since he's been in the league through the first 3 weeks, and I gotta believe that that's going to continue, and that the Bills are going to advance to 4-0 and keep this undefeated streak going to close out the Sunday night game. All right. And then last two, we got another doubleheader. We got on Monday night. We got the Titans and the Dolphins. All right. What do you got about the Titans and the Dolphins game?
I mean, this one, there's two games on Monday night. And let's just say I probably won't be watching this one because we have Will Levis against who I think probably Tyler Huntley or Skylar Thompson. I don't know if he's playing. This one's not going to be the most explosive game you've ever seen, even though the Dolphins have all those weapons. I just can't back Will Levis after watching it. I don't think it's
Yeah.
smart at all to.
Yeah.
I'm taking Miami.
This Titans team I looked a lot like the Carolina Panthers, I think. When Bryce Young was their quarterback, they just have no confidence in their offense whatsoever. And then on Miami's side, I don't know if Skylar Thompson's going to play. Like you said, I know he got banged up in that week 3 matchup. And yeah, I think if Tyler Huntley plays for Miami, who has been a successful backup in the past, I think if Tyler Huntley starts this game, I think Miami can blow Tennessee out the water, and Miami wins this one big.
Yeah,
And then
I agree.
our final game there on Monday night, we got the Seattle Seahawks and the Detroit Lions, and the Seahawks are 3-0.
Yeah.
All that said, right? I still believe that the Detroit Lions are the better team.
Yeah, I know we're running out of time here, so I'll keep it short. But Lions are wearing black. Monday Night
Yep.
Football. It's Seattle's funeral. Give me the Lions. Give me the points.
Yes, sir. Hey, I'm on board with the uniform pick. I think those all black unis are clean. I like Detroit winning this one. All right. Do you have a lock of the week?
My lock of the week would be this one. This is a tough week. There's a lot of games, but I'm a homer. I'm taking Pittsburgh. That's my lock of the week.
All right. And then you already got your dog out there. My dog's going to be Minnesota. And then I think my lock of the week, Cincinnati Bengals. They got to get it right this week.
I like that.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up. We appreciate y'all for tuning into the Smooth Plays podcast week 4. All right. We're going to hit you with 2 episodes next week. So stay tuned for that. We appreciate y'all stopping by. Like, subscribe, comment. And